A lone cowboy finds a lost Apache girl, but her past holds a powerful secret that will change his life forever. What happens when her true family arrives will leave you speechless. Don't miss this emotional journey of kindness, courage, and destiny. Like the video, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more unforgettable stories. On a quiet evening in the rugged lands of the American frontier, a lone cowboy named Daniel Carter discovered a frightened Apache girl wandering near his ranch. The sun was dipping below the horizon, casting long shadows across the dry grass and dusty trails. Daniel had just finished tending to his horses when he noticed a small figure stumbling near the fence line. At first, he thought it might be a trick of the light, but as he moved closer, he saw the truth. The girl looked exhausted, her clothes torn, her face pale with fear. She seemed ready to collapse at any moment, barely able to stand on her own trembling legs. Daniel approached slowly, careful not to startle her any further. Life on the frontier had taught him that trust was fragile, especially between strangers from different worlds. The girl's wide, fearful eyes followed his every move, as if she expected danger instead of help. He raised his hands slightly to show he meant no harm and spoke in a calm, steady voice. She didn't understand his words, but perhaps she understood his tone. After a moment of hesitation, she stopped, backing away. Daniel gently offered her a canteen of water, and after a brief pause, she reached out and took it with shaking hands. Once she drank, it became clear just how weak she truly was. Her small body trembled as she tried to keep her balance, and Daniel realized she hadn't eaten in days. Without wasting another moment, he guided her carefully toward his ranch house. Every step she took seemed like a struggle, and more than once she nearly fell. Daniel stayed close, ready to catch her if needed. Inside, he prepared a simple meal, placing it in front of her without pressure. At first, she hesitated again, but hunger soon overcame her fear, and she began to eat slowly, as if unsure the food was really hers. That night, Daniel gave her a warm blanket and a place to sleep near the fire. He kept his distance, not wanting to overwhelm her, but he stayed nearby just in case she needed anything. As the flames flickered softly, he watched her drift into a restless sleep. Even in her dreams, she seemed uneasy, her face tightening as though haunted by memories she could not escape. Daniel couldn't help but wonder what she had been through before finding her way to his land. Whatever it was, it had clearly left its mark on her fragile spirit. Over the next few days, the girl remained quiet, speaking only a few words in her native language that Daniel could not understand. Communication between them was limited, but small gestures began to bridge the gap. He showed her simple tasks around the ranch, pointing and demonstrating rather than explaining. She watched carefully, learning quickly, her cautious nature slowly giving way to curiosity. Sometimes he would catch her observing him from a distance, as if trying to understand the man who had taken her in without question. As days turned into weeks, a quiet bond began to form between them. The girl started to relax, her fear slowly fading into something softer. She would sit near the porch in the evenings, watching the sky change colors as the sun set. Daniel noticed that she smiled more often now, though the sadness in her eyes never fully disappeared. He began teaching her simple English words: water, food, home, and she repeated them with careful effort, determined to learn. Each small success seemed to build her confidence, and Daniel felt a growing sense of responsibility for her well-being. Despite the growing connection, Daniel knew deep down that her story was far from complete. There were too many unanswered questions, too many pieces missing from the puzzle of her past. Sometimes he would find her staring out across the open land, her expression distant, as if searching for something beyond the horizon. It made him wonder if she remembered where she came from, or if she was hoping someone would come looking for her. The thought lingered in his mind, refusing to fade no matter how much time passed. Late at night, When the ranch was quiet and the world seemed still, Daniel would sit by the fire and reflect on everything that had happened. He hadn't planned for any of this. His life had always been simple, predictable, and solitary, yet now everything felt different. The presence of the young girl had changed the atmosphere of his home, filling it with a sense of purpose he hadn't realized he was missing. Still, questions remained heavy on his heart. Who was she really? What had she lost? And somewhere out there was someone searching for the child he had come to care for, like his own. One afternoon, everything changed in a way Daniel could never have expected. The day had started like any other, with the sun rising over the open plains and a quiet stillness settling across the ranch. But by midday, a distant cloud of dust caught Daniel's attention. At first he thought it might be wild horses passing through, but as the shapes became clearer, he realized they were riders, Apache riders. His body tensed, unsure of their intentions. He stepped outside, his eyes scanning the horizon, aware that this moment could bring answers or trouble he was not prepared for. As the riders drew closer, their presence carried a quiet authority. At their front rode a striking and dignified woman, her posture straight, her expression calm yet powerful. There was something commanding about her, something that made it clear she was not an ordinary member of the tribe. Daniel remained still, choosing not to reach for his weapon, hoping his calm would reflect his intentions. The young girl, who had been sitting nearby, suddenly froze. Her eyes widened as she looked toward the approaching group, and something deep and emotional flickered across her face. The moment the riders stopped near the ranch, silence filled the air. Then, without warning, the girl ran forward, her small feet moving faster than Daniel had ever seen before. The woman dismounted quickly, and as their eyes met, everything else seemed to disappear. It was a moment filled with recognition, pain, and overwhelming relief. The girl threw herself into the woman's arms, and the woman held her tightly, as if afraid to let go. Tears streamed down both their faces, telling a story that needed no translation, a bond that had endured even through separation. Daniel stood at a respectful distance, watching the reunion unfold. It became clear to him that this woman was not just a stranger, she was the girl's mother, a widow who had lost her child during a time of conflict and uncertainty. The weight of that realization settled deeply within him. He felt a mixture of relief and quiet sadness. Relief that the girl had found her family again, and sadness knowing that his time with her might be coming to an end. Still, he knew this was the right outcome, no matter how difficult it felt. After a few moments, the woman gently guided her daughter back and turned her attention to Daniel. Her gaze was steady, but no longer guarded. Instead, it carried gratitude and respect. Though their languages were different, her expression spoke clearly. She placed her hand over her heart, a gesture of thanks that needed no words. One of the men stepped forward to translate, explaining that she was deeply grateful for the care Daniel had given her daughter. She had feared the worst, believing she might never see her child again. Daniel nodded humbly, unsure of what to say. He hadn't helped the girl for recognition or reward, he had simply done what felt right. Yet standing there, receiving the thanks of a mother who had endured such loss, he felt a quiet sense of pride. It wasn't pride in himself, but in the simple act of kindness that had brought this moment to life. He realized that sometimes the smallest decisions could carry the greatest impact, shaping lives in ways no one could predict. As time passed, the tension between the two worlds began to ease. The Apache group did not see Daniel as an outsider anymore, but as someone who had shown compassion when it mattered most. The widow remained for a while, allowing her daughter to say goodbye in her own time. During those moments, Daniel noticed something unexpected. The distance between him and the woman seemed to shrink, replaced by a quiet understanding. They didn't need many words. Their shared concern for the girl had already built a bridge between them. In the days that followed, Daniel reflected on everything that had happened. His life had changed in ways he never imagined, all because he chose to help a lost child. The ranch no longer felt as empty as it once did, even after the girl had left. Something had shifted inside him, leaving behind a sense of connection that went beyond borders, language, and culture. He realized that kindness had the power to unite even the most different of worlds, creating bonds that could never be broken by distance or time.